Bobo back with you here at 3 Zen. So I'm getting a little personal in this presentation. Maybe TMI, too much information, but I have to give you the background for you to understand the significance of what I'm going to share with you. About 1977, 78 or so forth, I began experiencing some issues with hemorrhoids. And left alone, they never get better on their own, as I later learned. Kind of battled them for 10 years or so, and they come and go. And, it's like typical pilot. If you ignore it, maybe it'll go away. Well, it did for a while and come back, did for a while and come back. Okay, you got the idea. And then in 1987 or so, I had a pretty severe bout with them. And when I went in to take my annual physical, my blood count was so low I couldn't get away with it anymore. So I had to go in and have them taken care of, which they did, which was fine. And when I got back on flying status, I wasn't going to go out there and pull a lot of G's, as you might suspect. I get to thinking about this. I had the operation on a Friday afternoon or Friday morning somewhere, and I was only DNF, the duty for not to include flying. I was only grounded for about maybe a week, if that. And that next Friday I was back in the air. Again, I was flying just instrument sorties and so forth. Anyway, good friend of mine, Jeff Ellis, and I set out on a weekend cross country that weekend. And we took off, flew up to Navy Dallas, from there up to Tinker, and then went around this, that, and the other, and came back to Randolph on Sunday. Well, on Friday afternoon, I did not realize it. As we're coming downhill going into Navy Dallas, I had a stuck mic. The only time that I'm aware of that I had a stuck mic. So we're coming downhill, and Jeff knew that I had just had surgery. And he said, "Well, boss," he said, how are you holding up? And I was in the back seat, and I said, "I think I'm holding up pretty well." And Jeff says, "Have you any adverse effects?" And I said, "No." I said, "Usually," well, wait a minute. I said, "I have one." I said, "I used to fart as a tenor, but now I fart as a bass." And next thing we hear, Fort Worth Center comes over and says, "Aircraft transmitting about their gas passing experience. Be aware you have a stuck mic." Oh, Jesus. So I kind of throttled back on that one. Just wanted to get into Fort Worth, Navy Dallas, and go to the BOQ and crawl under a blanket. At any rate, that's my only experience with a stuck mic that I had. Fart like a bass. Give me a break. This is Bobo bass gear. Stop.